Taurus 26, a Spaniard serenading his senorita. Well, this isn't about romance, strangely. It's about knowing how to do things in the right way. And the right way in this context is the approved of way, the way that civilization, society, our circle has said is okay. And of course, to some extent, that's not acceptable, that we should be squeezed into shape by the forces of society and their need to feel comfortable. Yeah, there's another part of us that wants to say, look, this is the way I am, deal with it, you guys. You know, I am like this, so find a way to accommodate me. That's a valid principle. But the other one that we're talking about now is like, no, no, we're not going to accommodate that part of you. You really do need to change that bit because we're not going to allow that. Whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. We're not going to allow that. This is what society is saying to us. So the Spaniard is playing a guitar to his senorita. This is the approved way of courtship. And we do need to learn that when we want something, when we have desire, the object of our desire, in this case, a woman presumably, being courted by a man, what does she want? I want her. Does she want me? We need to take that into account. It's not enough just to say, I want, therefore I'll have. Society won't let you get away with that for very long. So, how do we come to terms with reconciling what society wants and needs to constrain our behaviour on the one hand, and what is a legitimate, open-hearted bubbling up of our desire and our expression to be who we are? So we're trying to reconcile those two things to an extent. And I think for the most part in today's world, we've gone too far in a certain direction. So let's take this particular examination here. In Spain, at that time, a man with a guitar courting a woman, lovely, lovely. It's glamorous, it's charming, there's a magic in it, and it's accepted so that it's okay. But in other situations, that might not be okay. In certain countries, that wouldn't be thought of as appropriate behaviour. That would be too much. You'd have to go through the parents of the girl if you wanted to court her. That was certainly the case but it probably still is in certain countries in the Mediterranean region, for example. So let's look at flirting and the use of glamour to seduce. Is that okay or not? It's certainly done widely. But when you're flirting, how far should you go? Flirting is, on the one hand, an honest gesture of appreciation for the beauty and the sexuality of the other. And it's, on a mild level, a gift, isn't it? You look at somebody and you smile, oh yeah, you look pretty. What can be harmful about that? But at the level where you're actually sort of offering sex on the face of it, and then the other person says, yeah, I'm interested, and then you say no, you've disappointed them. Is that okay? I think you have to draw the line somewhere about how much you're telling a story, how much of it is real and how much of it is not. Flirting has to be the case somewhere in our way of being. It just has to be that way. But it has to stop at some point too. And when I say flirting, I could include all sorts of versions of that. The use of glamour to present ourselves as different from how we are in order to create a result in the world is the wider context of this. And we all use glamour, different forms of it, not just looking pretty, but also having certain emotional qualities. I'm a poet, I'm a guitar player, I'm a sportsman, I'm a businessman. These are all glamours, and we usually represent that with our clothes and our manner of speech and our opinions, and we just present this image to the world, knowing full well that it's an image. It doesn't check out, really. If it's pushed, you might not push back. You might not have the wherewithal to back up the glamour that you're presenting. And this presents a challenge, doesn't it? Because if you're actually found to be speaking a message into the world, and that's actually a lie, albeit a white lie, it's nevertheless a lie. And I think there's a difference between how someone is according to their spiritual station. So if somebody is just growing up, they're teenagers in their 20s or something, they're trying to make sure that they're attractive enough to move into a relationship and so on, yeah, okay, fair enough. But when you're a little bit more committed to your spiritual side, when you've actually made a decision to prioritize your spiritual path, then one of the things you must learn, is that lying isn't okay. It really doesn't take you where you want to go. If you speak something which is false, whether that's making a promise, yes, I will do that, knowing full well that you don't usually do what you say you're going to do, or somebody asks you a question and you bend the truth to deceive them, or whatever. If actually the way you speak is not a really authentic version of who you are, well, then you're not going to go very far spiritually. A very advanced spiritual person is absolutely authentic. How could it be otherwise? How could you possibly have a spiritual path that allowed any kind of lying? What kind of spirituality are you after here? Of course we've got to tell the truth. And we're not talking about sometimes, or when it's convenient, or not very big lies are okay. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the fact that you actually speak authentically, you act authentically. People know that when you say something, that is the case. If you make a determination about what will happen in the future, that is the case. I will be there then and I will fulfill this promise to you. Then you do, because you're a mature spiritual being. And if you don't do that, well then you're not. And I recognize that this is provocative, and I'm talking about the unusual person who actually is authentic. I think that there's quite a lot of people in high positions of spiritual importance that don't tell the truth. And that's, for my money anyway, that's how you actually work out whether they're okay. You can read a lie. If you're looking without an attachment to the yes or the no of the situation, you can see there are signs. And you need to learn to read those signs. On the one level, it has to do with like blink rate and moisture on the skin and number of gestures of the body, how restless they are. On another level is how you feel inwardly. Does it actually check out what they've said? Does it sit with you properly within? And you notice what they do after saying something. You just check it out. It's not okay to trust somebody unless they've earned your trust. That's just dangerous naivety. So if there's a spiritual teacher who's saying something to you, then just check it out. Is it consistent with what they do? Is it consistent with the other things that they say? You might not understand the consistency, but does it feel right? It's the same with people. If a woman is smiling at me and I feel she's attracted to me, I'll look around just to see if she's smiling at the other blokes in the room as well. And if she is, then that's her personality. She just likes smiling at men. She's a flirt. Lovely, but that's what it is. And you just got to check these things out, because the world is the world of lies. That's where we live. That's what the Sufis call this earth plane, the world of lies. And nothing is really how it seems. We know that. But some people want to leave this world of lies. Us. We want to move away from this deception, this illusion that's in front of us, and we want to find the truth. That's what a spiritual path is. Some people, in a biblical kind of sense, call the devil, whatever that is, the great deceiver, associating the idea of evil with deception. And I agree with that association. I don't agree with the idea of evil very much, but if there were to be an understanding of what differs good from bad, I would say truth is on the side of good and deception is on the side of bad. So, getting back to the point here, the guitar playing glamorous Spaniard is saying, I will love you forever. And the senorita is saying, he has said the magic words, he will love me forever. It's not true. It's our cultural game. That's the poem that he must speak in order to win my heart. Here's my heart. I don't believe he's going to love me forever. You know, or maybe she does. But anyway, he's actually said it in the context of what was allowed at that time. And if we actually know that the poetry we speak is accepted in our times, then it doesn't have to be legitimately true. Love is all there is. Love will find a way. That's not true. We know it's not true. It's a poem. It's an affirmation. It's a lie of sorts, but it's accepted within our culture. So it's a subtle point, but you're not allowed to tell lies unless you're allowed to tell them within the cultural norm. I think that's the bottom line here.